Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at something, well, pretty wild. It's a blueprint for global peace, but it's not from diplomats. It's from engineers. And their goal? To literally recode the very nature of conflict. All right, let's just jump right in. The central idea, and you really got to wrap your head around this, is a total shift in thinking. We're talking about moving away from what the documents call diplomatic art and towards systems engineering. The goal is to basically hard code a massive system upgrade for how the world works. So what in the world does that even look like? Well, that's what we're going to break down in this explainer. We're going to walk through the logic of this whole upgrade step by step, just like it's laid out in the source documents. We'll look at how they diagnose the problem, what solution they're proposing, and then the plan to actually roll this thing out globally. And trust me, it's ambitious. Okay, so first things first. The framework starts by diagnosing the problem with our current global operating system, and their take is pretty blunt. The whole thing is running on faulty, totally outdated code. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how they reframe the problem here. They're basically saying that conflict isn't just a political mess-up, it's a predictable system failure. That legacy code you see on the left, that's our current world, running on things like aid dependency and this idea that for one person to win, another has to lose. And the result? Constant system crashes. In other words, cycles of violence. So here's the real kicker. According to this framework, the old system, our current system, actually makes conflict a predictable, almost logical result. Why? Because there's no profit in stability. The high risk in these areas just scares away the money, the very capital you need to build a stable, prosperous future. Okay, so what's the fix? The solution they propose is, you guessed it, a brand new operating system. And this one is built on a core idea that's designed to flip that old logic completely on its head. The goal is to make peace the most profitable option for everyone.
And let's be super clear here. We're not talking about traditional foreign aid. The documents are pretty critical of that, saying it just manages scarcity without ever solving it. No, this is about totally re-engineering the system to turn stability itself into something you can invest in. Make it as basic and reliable as our energy grid.
This graphic just perfectly nails the core principle. People protect what pays them. It's all about shifting incentives. The idea is to engineer a system that changes people from just being passive recipients of aid into being active owners of assets. Think about it. If your family's income is tied directly to that local power plant or shipping hub, well, suddenly blowing it up becomes, as the framework calls it, economic suicide. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How is this thing actually built? The source material calls the architecture the triple helix, and they describe it as the BIOS for global prosperity. The BIOS on your computer? It's that super basic code that has to boot up before anything else can even start. That's what this is supposed to be. So this Venn diagram is going to be our guide for a bit as we break down each piece of the system. You can see the three big parts that overlap. You've got the hardware, the software, and the intelligence. And they all have to work together perfectly to get to that sweet spot in the middle, operating stability. First up, the hardware layer. We're talking about the physical stuff. And the documents get very specific. They actually name Elon Musk as the architect here, probably because of what Tesla and SpaceX can do with energy and logistics. The strategy is something they call leapfrogging. The idea is to take conflict zones, treat them like a blank slate, and just build these ultra-modern, future-proof states, completely skipping over all the old 20th century infrastructure. Okay, next is the software. But this isn't like Windows or Mac OS. It's a moral operating system. They call it a trust layer, and its whole job is to make the environment predictable enough for people to invest money. The key concept is something called covenantal accountability. It's a fancy way of saying, we're going to build a system where promises are binding because it becomes incredibly costly, both financially and socially, to break your word. It's about manufacturing trust where there isn't any. And the third and final layer is intelligence. This is where AI comes in, specifically predictive AI from XAI. Its job is basically threefold. 1, spot military risks before they blow up. 2, figure out the absolute fastest path to economic growth. And 3, fine-tune the whole economy to meet people's needs directly, cutting out all the waste and inefficiency of old market systems. So you've got the hardware, the software, the intelligence, but how does it all keep going? How does it sustain itself? Well, the documents propose a kind of self-reinforcing engine that's designed to completely rewrite human incentives right from the very beginning. And here it is. This is the engine of the whole system. They call it the flywheel effect. Just follow the circle. It kicks off with moral legitimacy. That builds trust and lowers risk. That lower risk pulls in big money for huge infrastructure projects. Those projects create jobs and local wealth, which pushes the extremists to the side. And then the profits from all that get poured right back into the system, and the whole flywheel just starts spinning faster and faster. Okay, so this isn't just a bunch of ideas on paper. The framework actually lays out a plan for a phased global rollout, and it starts small, with a very specific patch meant to fix what they see as the most basic bug in the current system. The logic is pretty simple, really. You can't install a new operating system on a starving machine. You have to solve hunger first. So the first step, the first proof of concept, is this thing called the miracle bar. It's built on a model that's half profit, half charity, all designed to prove that you can solve food security and make it a sustainable business, not just a handout.
So once you've patched the hunger bug, the plan scales up. You move into what they call sandbox environments. Think of them as special zones for innovation in places like Gaza and the Golan Heights. And this part is key. These sandboxes are protected by a serious security firewall, like a joint intelligence center where everyone shares information to make sure that this economic experiment can actually run without being attacked or disrupted.
And the end game? It's all about scaling up, expanding the network by adding more and more powerful processors. The documents mention a future-free Iran, for example. The idea is to create what they call a dual-core economy. So one core is running the super-fast peace-for-profit system for business and trade, while the other core is running an abundance layer that's totally focused on making sure everyone has what they need to thrive. So, where does all this lead? What's the final vision? What is the reality that this whole thing is trying to engineer? Well, according to the source documents, if this system works the way it's supposed to, conflict just stops making sense. It becomes economically obsolete. It's no longer a viable option because it's just plain unprofitable and illogical for literally everyone involved. The system basically presents a very simple choice. You can join this new, profitable board of peace, or you can lose. And that, right there, is the huge, provocative idea at the center of this whole thing. It's a vision of a future where we don't just wish for peace, we engineer it to be the most logical, profitable choice you can make. It really leaves you with one massive question, doesn't it? Can you actually recode human nature with a system? That's what this blueprint forces us all to think about.